A life that's full.
Are you ever curious about the contents of a mausoleum that is dedicated to Elvis Presley? Have you ever considered going to a structure known as a catacomb? Wouldn't that be an incredible experience? Information regarding the excavation of the tomb of rock and roll legend Elvis Presley has exploded on several online forums in recent times. There were a lot of different points of view, and the majority of his followers did not agree with this. What exactly took place in this location, and what are the investigators looking for in particular? At this very moment, we shall all get together to discover the truth. Following his passing on August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley was laid to rest in the Forest Hill Cemetery located in Memphis, Tennessee by his family. It was in the same tomb that the male singer was laid to rest next to his mother, Gladys, who had passed away during the year 1958. Nevertheless, the bodies of Elvis's mother and son were transported to be buried in the family's Graceland Villa plot, which is approximately 5 miles away from the Forest Hill Cemetery. This occurred barely 2 months after the death of Elvis. Ever since that time, the tomb has remained empty. In the course of the Music Icons program, which was organized by the renowned auction firm Julien, the catacombs were put up for auction. In addition to the burial of Elvis Presley, more than 600 pieces of memorabilia belonging to other big music performers, such as Michael Jackson and Frank Sinatra, are also available for purchase. The news of his passing came as a tremendous surprise to millions of music enthusiasts all around the world. It is believed that the rock and roll music legend's death was caused by his long history of substance abuse, including the use of sleeping medications and sedatives. However, a large number of individuals are unable to acknowledge the truth that was revealed by the physician. Some individuals even hold the belief that Elvis Presley is still alive due to the concerns that are associated with the peculiar faults that were found on the tombstone of the King of Rock and Roll. Elvis Aaron Presley is clearly etched on the tombstone in Memphis, Tennessee, and it is common knowledge that this is the name of the famous musician. On the other hand, supporters brought to light the fact that Mr. Aaron's middle name was misspelled. In the meantime, the name Aaron appears on his birth certificate in the correct format. In point of fact, Elvis was known to have expressed his desire to alter the spelling of the name to a double A in the past. In accordance with Elvis's wishes, Elvis's father made the decision to write his child's middle name as 2 A's after his passing. One piece of evidence that lends credence to the notion that Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, is still alive exists in the form of a recording from 1981 that features a voice that is strikingly similar to Elvis's. When Gail Brewer Giorgio published the recording, she garnered a lot of attention towards herself. The voice of Elvis Presley. A man who sounds like Elvis Presley is heard on the recording saying, "People ask me all the time where I live. And of course, I can't say. But it's a nice place to hide." Later on, a speech recognition specialist by the name of L.H. Williams revealed that the individual in question was Elvis Presley. Elvis Aaron Presley was the second of 2 twins and was born on January 8, 1935, in Tupelo, Mississippi. He was the second of 2 brothers. As a result of his brother Jesse's stillbirth, he was raised as an only child throughout his childhood. Elvis's early years were characterized by nothing but modesty and simplicity because his parents were diligent but struggled financially. This left Elvis with a simple and uncomplicated upbringing. In spite of the challenges, his mother made certain that his life would be filled with love and music, and each member of his family had a strong religious conviction. Elvis Presley's first experience with music was really at the church, which is something that a lot of people are unaware of. His distinctive musical style, which would later shake the globe, was shaped by the powerful gospel music that he heard during the service. This music would have a tremendous influence on him. When Elvis was only 10 years old, he won a talent event by singing Old Shep. This was the moment that caused his voice to become well known. For the purpose of providing better chances for their family, the Presleys relocated to Memphis. It was in Memphis that Elvis Presley began developing his unique style. He immersed himself in the myriad of sounds that Beale Street, the center of Memphis's vibrant music industry, had to offer, and it wouldn't be long before he picked up the guitar. On the occasion of his 11th birthday, his mother made the decision to purchase him his very first guitar, a move that would ultimately lead to his rise to fame. During his time at LC, During his time at Hume's High School, he was typically a solitary student. As a result of his slicked-back hair and distinctive sense of style, which included wearing pink shirts and black slacks, he stood out from the other participants in the group. In spite of the fact that he was frequently teased for being a mama's boy and for having a diverse musical taste, he did not let this stop him and continued to polish his skills by taking part in talent competitions and soaking up as much musical knowledge as he could. When he was in high school, his talent started to become more apparent. During his performance at the yearly minstrel show, he would leave the crowd in amazement with his interpretation of the song, "Till I Waltz Again With You." The fact that Elvis possessed a talent was obvious, and his self-assurance increased with each and every performance he gave. In the years following his graduation in 1953, he worked a variety of professions, but he never stopped pursuing his dreams of being a musician. It was his historic records at Sun Records that marked the beginning of his spectacular climb to stardom. The compelling stage appearance and distinctive voice that he possessed helped him become a symbol of the rebellion of young people and a hero to millions of people. The influence that he would have on the music charts would be unrivaled. He has a total of 149 songs that were included on the Billboard Hot 100 pop chart in the United States, with 114 of them climbing into the top 40, 40 of them making it into the top 10, and 18 of those songs hitting the top spot. His singles that reached #1 would spend a combined total of 80 weeks at the top of the charts, and his record sales were absolutely astonishing. It is estimated that he sold more than 1 billion records all over the world, making him the solo artist with the highest record sales in the history of recorded music. It was equally successful for him to venture into the world of film, since he has a total of 31 feature films to his name, all of which have been commercially successful. In addition to becoming a phenomenon in the world of music, Elvis was also a genuine cinematic star. Despite the passage of time, his 3 network television specials, notably the '68 comeback, continue to be regarded as some of the most highly rated specials of their respective fields. Elvis was inducted into many music halls of fame, including those for pop, country, rockabilly, rhythm and blues, adult contemporary, and gospel music. He was also the recipient of 3 Grammy Awards, including the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, which he received at the young age of 36. A tremendous amount of accolades would be bestowed upon him on the worldwide stage, taking into consideration the fact that he rarely played outside of the United States. Despite this, his movie and album releases were well received in every region of the world. The mere mention of his initial name would be enough to garner admiration and fame all around the world. He was a cultural phenomenon. Throughout the entirety of his career, he was able to break records and break barriers that are still in place today. His musical tours and performances in Las Vegas were legendary, and they frequently broke attendance records each time they were performed. When it came to live performances, his style, which was a combination of raw energy and emotional expressiveness, established a benchmark that other performing artists had a difficult time matching. The word that Elvis had passed away at the age of 42 would spread like wildfire on August 16, 1977, leaving fans all over the world in a state of astonishment and sadness. The world would be horrified to learn that Elvis had passed away. Over the course of many years, the circumstances surrounding his untimely demise have been the subject of a great deal of speculation and intrigued curiosity. Ginger Alden, who was engaged to Elvis at the time, discovered him motionless on the floor of the lavatory in his Graceland residence in Memphis, Tennessee. Instantaneously, she placed a call for assistance, and Elvis was subsequently transported to Baptist Memorial Hospital. It was determined that he had passed away around 3:30 p.m. Despite the greatest efforts of the medical staff, the official cause of death would be described as a heart attack. However, the autopsy report would provide a considerably more complicated picture of the circumstances surrounding the death. According to the findings of Dr. Jerry Francisco, the Shelby County medical examiner, Elvis had a massively enlarged heart that weighed about twice as much as the typical size. This ailment, which is known as hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, most likely played a role in the sudden cardiac arrest that he experienced. It is expected that the toxicology findings would disclose the presence of a number of prescription medicines in his system. These substances include high doses of opiates, barbiturates, and sedatives. Those who were physically close to Elvis knew that he had a long-standing addiction to the drug that he received by prescription. He had been struggling with addiction for a number of years, and he frequently relied on his personal physician to supply him with the controlled substances that he yearned for. A staggering variety of medicines, such as Quaaludes, Demerol, and others, had been prescribed to Elvis by this individual, who was known by the nickname Dr. Nick. Elvis Presley's health had been quickly deteriorating in the months leading up to his passing. Prior to his passing, as a result of his massive weight gain, his performances became increasingly inconsistent. He had gained a significant amount of weight. It was not uncommon for him to show out on stage in a trance, missing songs and having difficulty paying attention to the music. It appeared as though his entourage, which included his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, had become increasingly concerned about his well-being, but they were unable to take any action to help him. One of the most memorable moments occurred at his legendary Aloha from Hawaii concert in 1973. At that performance, he had the lyric cards for Burning Love held up for him. On the other hand, there are admirers who assert that he hardly ever looked at them. But the very fact that they were present served as a safety net that he had not previously required. It is their contention that this was not the result of any substance addiction, as is commonly believed, but rather a peculiarity that Elvis had been dealing with for a significant portion of his career. They referred to the return special that he performed in 1968, in which he had difficulty remembering the lyrics to his own songs. To add insult to injury, he had been struggling with this issue for a very long time. On the other hand, when he forgot lyrics, he would frequently immediately interject comedy and engage the audience, thereby transforming a potentially embarrassing situation into a charming conversation. Furthermore, in the latter part of 1970, while performing a live show in Las Vegas, he needed assistance in keeping up with a number of songs and required sheet music in order to do so. Memories of these encounters are filled with fondness since they demonstrate his genuineness and his ability to connect with others. At the time of his passing, Elvis had been awake the whole night, unable to fall asleep, and had taken multiple dosages of prescription medications throughout the night and into the early morning hours. He had also been unable to sleep. He would retire to the bathroom at approximately 2:30 in the morning, where he would frequently spend extended periods of time reading. It was in the bathroom that his fiancée, Ginger, would discover him unconscious on the floor many hours later. Fans all over the world fell into sorrow after hearing the news of Elvis's death, holding candlelight vigil and depositing flowers at the gates of Graceland. The news of Elvis's death would send shockwaves through the industry and beyond. In the weeks and months that followed, doubts began to arise regarding the circumstances that accompanied his death. The media went into a frenzy, with reporters and photographers pouring into Memphis to cover the story. In addition, concerns were raised concerning the circumstances surrounding his death. A great number of followers had refused to accept the possibility that their idol might have passed away due to anything as insignificant as a heart attack, and stories started to spread about the possibility of a cover-up or a possible act of foul play. A significant number of individuals who were closest to Elvis have come out in the years that have passed in order to throw light on his final days. Friends and family members have described a man who was extremely tormented, dealing with addiction and depression, and unable to cope with the pressures of his celebrity. This man was described as having a severe mental illness. There was a whirlwind of events that the doctor had to deal with in the years that followed his passing. After being brought into the public eye by the court system as a result of his prescription practices, his professional life took a dramatic turn for the better. Dr. Nick would be indicted on 14 counts of overprescribing medicines in the year 1980. These charges would not only be brought against Elvis, but also against other high-profile people such as Jerry Lee Lewis and other patients. In spite of the seriousness of the allegations, he would be found not guilty. On the other hand, the scrutiny did not stop even there. The Tennessee Medical Board took action, and in a move that stunned the entire medical world, they permanently withdrew his medical license, which he had been practicing medicine for. During the course of the investigation, it was discovered that he had been prescribing excessive amounts of medication to patients over the course of several years. which raised substantial concerns regarding his medical judgment and ethics. Dr. Nick's life would also be shaped by a peculiar and terrifying event that occurred in 1979, when he was shot in the chest while he was watching a football game. Through some miracle, he did not sustain any significant injuries. Yet, the incident remained shrouded in mystery because no suspect was ever apprehended. There is a possibility that the shooting was carried out by an irate Elvis fan. This is a hypothesis that can be considered. When Elvis was laid to rest, it was a big and emotional event that was fitting for the king of rock and roll. At the famous mansion that Presley owned in Memphis, Tennessee, the meditation garden at Graceland was chosen as the location for his burial. For the purpose of introspection and finding peace, Elvis frequently went to the garden, which was a calm and lovely spot. The funeral service was held on August 18, 1977, which was only 2 days after his unexpected passing when it occurred. The event was private, and just a few people from within the industry were present, along with members of the family and close friends. In spite of the fact that the event was held in private, thousands of devoted fans gathered outside the gates to pay their respects and also to say goodbye to their favorite music idol. There would be floral arrangements in the meditation garden, including a breathtaking assortment of red roses, which were Elvis Presley's favorite flower. The centerpiece of the arrangement would be a gorgeous fountain that would serve as a backdrop for the solemn occasion. The casket that Elvis Presley was laid in was made of solid copper and lined with velvet. The funeral service itself was a poignant homage that included musical performances and heartfelt eulogies and tributes. A few years prior to the event, the Reverend C.W. Bradley, who had previously tied the knot with Elvis and Priscilla, had presided over the ceremonial event. It was common for members of the family and close friends to talk about their recollections of the deceased star and express their affection for them. Performers of gospel music, including J.D., the voices of Sumner and the Stamps Quartet filled the air with a spirit of hope and joy despite the sadness that was present. They performed some of his favorite hymns. The casket of Elvis would be lowered into the earth as the ritual came to a close, marking the location where he would be laid to rest for all eternity. Nowadays, guests that come to Graceland pay their respects to the meditation garden, which is the location where Elvis Presley is laid to rest with his parents, Vernon and Gladys, as well as his grandmother, Minnie May. A whirlwind of curiosity and excitement has been sparked among fans and theorists alike as a result of the rumor mill beginning to churn with murmurs that the tomb of the famous Elvis Presley may be opened up. It would appear that the genesis of the rumor is just as enigmatic as the king the individual. As is the case with the man who serves as the story's focal point, the narrative has taken on a life of its own. Online discussion boards were the source of the story, which suggested that Elvis Presley's family intended to reveal the details of his ultimate resting place during the upcoming event. The concept that we would be able to gain a more in-depth look at the private life of such a popular figure had the potential to send waves of anticipation through the community of people who are fans of Elvis. Once the concept was out there, it spread like wildfire across forums and online Elvis communities in a way that was similar to a mob mentality. It is unclear who was the first person to raise the potential of the tomb being opened. Nevertheless, what could possibly be the source of such rumors? As a matter of fact, there are some who maintain that Elvis actually staged his own death. A number of pieces of evidence are cited by those who are in favor of this concept. One of the most intriguing aspects is the fact that there are inconsistencies surrounding his tombstone. Aaron, his middle name, is written on the tomb plaque in an oddly spelled form that looks like Aron. This could be a subtle signal given by Elvis himself to imply that his burial was not official, according to those who are in favor of the idea. The sighting of Elvis Presley in the background of a scene in the movie Home Alone 1990, which takes place in an airport, is another piece of proof that is believed to exist. In the scene in question, which takes place in a busy airport, the mother, who is portrayed by Catherine O'Hara, is frantically trying to negotiate for a trip back home. There, behind her, sits the figure of the gentleman with the beard who is dressed in a turtleneck sports coat. This individual has been the subject of much interest and discussion. As he stands slightly over O'Hara's left shoulder, his presence is unobtrusive but interesting. Numerous people get the impression that the man's appearance is strikingly similar to what they would anticipate an older Elvis to seem like. Every aspect of his appearance, including his eyes, the shape of his face, and even his posture, evokes a sense of familiarity that is consistent with the iconic appearance of the king of rock and roll. The beard is a particular point of interest of the individual. There are many who believe that it could be an effective disguise because it is thick, well-groomed, and covers a significant portion of his lower face. Although it is not the clean-cut appearance that we typically associate with Elvis, it does contribute to the mystique that surrounds him. It is possible that this is an intentional effort to blend in, or it could simply be a fashion statement of a background embellishment. There is also the matter of body language. A certain irritation can be seen emanating from the man, a discontentment that is both silent and vocal with the circumstance that is taking place in front of him. He has behaviors that are not unlike to those that we might anticipate from a celebrity who was once in the spotlight but is now merely an observer in the background. This is a minor but significant detail that gives dimension to the scene and fires the notion further. Also worthy of mention is the way he dresses. Both the turtleneck and the sports coat are timeless and traditional, selections that one could readily imagine Elvis wearing due to their ageless nature. They speak of a particular age and style that is in line with the king's taste, and these minuscule details are what make the hypothesis so intriguing. The study of handwriting has also contributed to the spread of false death reports. The signatures of Elvis Presley have been analyzed by a number of handwriting specialists who assert that his autographs from the years that followed the rumors of his death look to be strangely different from his previous signatures. They believe that there could be evidence that someone else was signing on his behalf in order to keep up the appearance that he had passed away. A number of believers have expressed their surprise and disbelief at the circumstances surrounding his funeral. It was a rather small and private ceremony, despite the fact that the deceased was a well-known and well-liked public personality. His body was placed inside a copper casket that weighed 900 pounds, which some people would claim would be too hefty unless it was genuinely empty prior to the burial. Skeptics point out that the funeral was held not long after the news of his passing was made public, which leads them to question whether the fast proceedings were organized in order to avoid scrutiny. Over the course of his life, a great number of people have come forward to assert that they witnessed Elvis Presley alive and well before his death was believed to have occurred. In point of fact, the phenomena of sightings have evolved into a cultural fascination, with people from many parts of the world asserting that they have witnessed the emblem in its physical form. Due to the fact that it took place the day after his passing, the very first sighting was every bit as mysterious as it was timely. It has been reported that a man who bears a striking likeness to Elvis purchased a one-way ticket to Buenos Aires using the name John Burroughs. This is an alias that Elvis was known to have used in the past. The discovery triggered a flurry of speculations and other sightings, each of which was more intriguing than the one that came before it to begin with. Moving forward in time to the end of 1977, an image was discovered that appeared to show Elvis relaxing in his pool house. The photograph was taken by a fan who was visiting Graceland at the time. Despite the fact that the identity of the person seen in the photograph is still being contested to this day, there are many who are adamant that it was Elvis Presley himself. An abundance of sightings occurred in Kalamazoo, Michigan, throughout the decade of the 1980s. Multiple persons claim to have seen the king alive and well, going about his business as if he had never left the stage. The town had become a hotbed for Elvis theorists, and they were claiming to have seen him. Then there was the unexplained phone conversation that took place in 1988. The caller said that Elvis was not only alive but also prepared to make a comeback. The voice of the caller was remarkably similar to Elvis's that was heard. Regardless of whether or not it was a hoax, it poured gasoline to the ever-burning fire of conspiracy theories that surround the eventual destiny of Elvis. After that, the sightings not only continued, but they even extended to the publishing of musical works. The release of a song titled Spelling on the Stone in 1988 by an unknown artist caused many people to assume that it was Elvis himself singing from beyond the dead, or more accurately, from a hiding place where he was still very much alive. The turn of 2000 saw him being observed at the grand opening of California's Legoland of all places, and while it would subsequently be proven that impersonators were employed for the event, the first claims of his attendance would send ripples of excitement throughout the Elvis faithful. In point of fact, the weekly global news tabloid even continued to keep the sighting legend alive by publishing a series of pieces that detailed his purported explorations after the year 1977. They constructed a picture of Elvis as a globe-trotting individual who had faked his death in order to abstain from the public eye and live a life of anonymity. There are others who feel that Elvis left behind cryptic clues in his music and album artwork. They refer to songs such as I'll Never Know and Way Down as examples of songs that have lyrics that could be read as signals regarding his intentions to vanish. Elvis Presley is depicted on the album cover of Promised Land wearing a white suit, which some people interpret as a metaphorical indication of his elevation to a higher plane of life. The fact that Elvis's body was discovered in an unusual position, with his pajama bottoms wrapped around his ankles, is something that some people have brought up. Additionally, there are many who assert that the autopsy report had been altered and that the findings of the toxicological test had been concealed. Elvis Presley was a man whose life was as bright as the theatrical clothes that he liked to wear despite the fact that he was the king of rock and roll. Imagine the excitement of stepping out into the spotlight, the ultimate act of defiance against a world that was watching his every move. Just try to picture it. It is possible that staging one's own death could be interpreted as a big escape and a way to begin a new and liberated life away from the pressures of celebrity and the continual scrutiny of the public. The temptation of the highest possible level of anonymity is what sparked the thought of fabricating his death. It is possible that this would be an opportunity for someone like Elvis Presley, who lived his life at the center of public attention, to lead a life that is more typical. There will be no more paparazzi, no more tabloid headlines. There will be nothing but the satisfaction of walking down the street without being seen. Unrestricted access to one's financial resources is another possibility. Perhaps Elvis had become exhausted by the demands placed on him financially, the managers, the agents, and the never-ending requirement to keep up an extravagant way of living as individuals. It is possible that he was able to take a peaceful break from the financial pressures and expectations that come along with popularity by pretending to become deceased. One more possibility is that they may make a spectacular return. The music industry is always looking for a compelling story about a resurrection. And what could possibly be more dramatic than the king himself coming back from the dead? One could say that it would be the pinnacle of career advancement, a moment in history that would shake the entertainment industry to its very foundations. The burden of legacy can be a significant one, particularly for a legend such as Elvis Presley himself. It's possible that he wished to safeguard his legacy from being ruined by the unavoidable consequences of becoming older and the shifts that occur in the music environment. By passing away, he would be able to guarantee that the legend will continue to be unblemished, eternally youthful, and bright in the hearts of fans. There is also the possibility of approaching it from the perspective of the typical human drive to exert control. In a life in which Elvis had very little control over his privacy, his image, and frequently his personal decisions, the act of faking his own death may be the ultimate step in reclaiming control back. The one decision that would be wholly his, a secret that would be kept near to his heart, and a final bow on his own terms would be this one. The cult following that Elvis Presley amassed after his death is likely the most significant legacy that he left behind than anything else. There are a significant number of his followers who take their celebrity status to an extreme level, and their admiration for rock and roll extends far beyond a simple appreciation for his music. Many people consider it to be a full-fledged way of life. In addition to homage competitions, their activities are as flamboyant as Elvis Presley's stage attire. These activities include pilgrimages to Graceland. A phenomenon that is both appealing and odd is the phenomenon of tribute artists who perform Elvis Presley recordings. For the sole purpose of imitating their favorite celebrity, fans all across the world will dress in elaborate jumpsuits and meticulously style their hair. Competitions are held in which contestants are evaluated not only on the basis of their vocals, likeness to Elvis, but also on the basis of their ability to recreate his charm and stage presence. The attention to detail is quite remarkable, as evidenced by the fact that some individuals even study his mannerisms and speech patterns. In addition, there is Elvis Week, which is an annual event that takes place at Graceland, which was once his house but is now a museum. In order to commemorate his life, fans from all over the world travel to Memphis. They take part in candlelight vigils, create intricate fan art, and trade rare items with one another. A celebration of everything Elvis, including music, stories, and fellowship, will take place over the course of a week. There are those devotees who will carry their devotion to the fullest extent possible, to the point where it can be regarded as the Church of Elvis. They consider him to be a messianic figure, and they attribute him to quasi-religious significance. These gatherings frequently combine traditional religious practice with the singing of songs, and they perceive him as a symbol of love and unity. One of the most peculiar aspects of the cultural impact is the weddings that Elvis impersonators perform in Las Vegas. It is possible for couples to have an Elvis impersonator officiate their wedding, serenading them and causing them to fall in love while they exchange their vows. A wedding in Las Vegas is not complete without this wild combination of romanticism and kitsch, which has become an integral component of the wedding experience. In the domain of the internet, fans have established online groups in which they discuss the influence that Elvis has had on their lives, post rare concert material, and even act out different scenarios while playing the part of Elvis. One further typical hobby is collecting memorabilia, and some fans even devote entire rooms or even their entire homes to showcasing their collection of memorabilia. From vinyl records and concert posters to personal belongings that may have previously belonged to the king, the search for these riches is unrelenting. However, the more unusual the object, the more prized it is, which has led to a flourishing trade among collectors. Other gems include concert posters and vinyl records. The Elvis fan tattoos are a tribute to the king of rock and roll that will last for one's entire life. The tattoos that his fans have on their bodies, which may include his image, song lyrics, or even his signature, are a badge of honor that identifies the person who wears them as a loyal follower. There is a wide variety of variations in the designs, from simple to intricate, with some fans covering substantial areas of their bodies as a form of memorial. The fad of having dogs that look like Elvis Presley is just another peculiar spin on the fandom. Some enthusiasts would dress their pets, especially their hound dogs, in miniature Elvis costume, complete with little wigs and sunglasses. This is especially common among hound dogs. These animals will frequently be seen at fan gatherings and parades, serving to put a smile on the faces of all those who witness them. We have completed our investigation into this matter. Please share your thoughts and comments in the comments section below this video. We appreciate you watching. And before you go, please hit the like button, share this video, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. There is no doubt that the subsequent films will not let you down with the fascinating material that we bring to the table. We will see you again, and thank you.